Hello, everyone. Good morning. How are we all? I'm Andrew. I'm hoping you guys can hear me all right. I'm not seeing anyone in the chat yet. But it looks like my mic's going. Okay, I guess we are live. So today we're going to talk about, yep, we're live. Awesome. Now I'm seeing y'all. Hey, good morning. So we're talking today about performance anxiety, about what to do about that, and what are some things that we can do when we're feeling the nerves creep up on ourselves. And so this all in the end comes from the brain. That's what controls everything in our body. And so this morning we're going to talk a little bit about some practical things to do to test on yourself to see if it lowers your anxiety. And even if it's not for performance, right now we're all feeling some anxiety. So you can just try this stuff in life if you feel yourself getting a little overwhelmed by the news. These are good things to play with. So quickly, how this works in the brain, there's something called the amygdala. It's Amygdala. And that's a part of your limbic lobe or limbic system in the brain. And that is where emotions like fear are processed. And so the amygdala, when it senses threat, will send out stuff into your body. And that can happen with real danger, like you're running away from a tiger, or it can happen when you're getting ready to sing She Used to Be Mine. The brain doesn't really treat them differently. The brain can react to potential threats as intensely as it reacts to real threats, which is kind of crazy, but that's the way the humans are. So we have to know that the amygdala can send out these signals into the body, whether or not there's real danger going on. And so there was a study done last year that one of the first things that happens is that it sends out messages to your bones. So it sends out something from your bones. The name of this thing that comes out is called osteocalcin. Sounds like bones, like osteoporosis, yeah. So it's essentially a signal for your bones to start to release stress stuff into your system. And you may know about adrenaline. So adrenaline is the hormone that sends us into like the quick heart racing. And then if we stay there longer, we get into what's called cortisol, which is like a long-term stress hormone, which a lot of us have been in these past couple months. And so a couple things happen when adrenaline or cortisol gets shot into the body. One of the main things it's trying to do is to raise your blood sugar, which we'll get back to in a second. But you'll know this is happening if the typical symptoms occur. You're starting to shake, you're hyperventilating, where you see your breath get up into your shoulders, sweating, and sometimes certain body parts will shake. Knees are very common, hands, you'll see tremors in the face. Some other things are cold hands and feet, and cold tip of your nose is a sign of stress. And so some things you can do through your day to track how your anxiety is your temperature and your pulse. And so if you have a watch, like I have this Apple Watch there, you can take your pulse fairly easily. So I'd like for you all to see your resting pulse, if we're just sitting here talking, be probably between 70 and 90. So if it's a lot higher than 90 at rest, that's probably some of this fight or flight hormone going through your blood. And then your body temperature, we'd like to see that be when you wake up around 97.8 or higher. And ideally in midday, it should rise to 98.6, like we all know from the doctor. So since probably most of you have a thermometer, maybe some of you have gotten one with all this virus stuff going around, it's interesting to check that, to go, well, where's my temperature throughout the day? I'm going to share a couple recipes that I have that I use. So you can try these and you can then retake your temperature and go, I'm going to make this drink. I'm going to have some of it. I'm going to retake my temperature, see if it's a little higher. That would be a sign that the stress might have gone down in your body. But before we get to that, we're going to get to some breathing. So if you have something in your place that's like a paper bag, that would be ideal for this section. You can also use a plastic bag. It's just going to be a lot more intense with a plastic bag. But if you have any kind of bag, just go ahead and grab it. So what happens in terms of the blood is that carbon dioxide, which you may know builds in your blood on an exhale, that is the substance that calms the brain down. So it creates what's called vasodilation, which means the blood vessels open up. So when you're under fight or flight, the blood vessels are shrinking, everything's getting really small and getting ready to run away from danger. So CO2 opens it back up. And so that's going to usually warm your body up, but also it's going to make your brain more calm. And so there's a couple simple ways that you can build CO2 in your body. So we're going to try first one that doesn't require any gear. So what we're going to do first is just take a breath in through our nose. And then you're going to blow it out through your lips like this until you're pretty empty of air. And when you're empty, just hang out there for a second and hold your breath. And you're just going to wait until you feel a strong desire to inhale. And when you do, go ahead and inhale through your nose. And then you're going to exhale again through lips. Out, 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 out. And when you're pretty empty, hold. And then inhale. And do it again. Out, out, out through your lips. Hold your breath. And then inhale. So the carbon dioxide builds in your blood when you exhale. And so it's dumping into your bloodstream, but some of it has to stay in your bloodstream to calm your brain down. So that little hold at the end is about letting it build a little bit. And that sends some calming messages to your brain. If you go too far and you start to turn blue, then that's not going to calm you down. But a little mild, what's called air hunger, is very good in these situations. So if we're back auditioning again and you're standing in line and you start to feel that heart racing, you can just do that. Inhale through your nose, blow it out through your lips, which creates a little resistance. And then you just hold at the bottom of that exhale until your brain's like, gotta breathe, and then you breathe in again. Now, for some of you, that's going to be enough. If you need to make it a little more athletic, this is what you do. I'm going to stand up and adjust my camera. So what you do then is you do some body weight exercise on a breath hold. So I'm going to show you with just some quarter squats. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to inhale. I'm going to blow it out. I'm going to hold my breath a little bit. And then I'm going to do squat, squat, squat until I need to breathe, until my body tells me it's time to inhale. And then I'm going to inhale through my nose. So if you have space to get up and try this, try it with me. So what you're going to do is inhale first, and then you're going to exhale. You're going to hold your breath and just do some mini squats like this. Keep going until you feel a little bit of what's called air hunger building. And when you feel that, you stop. Inhale through your nose. You try to get your breath back under your control as quickly as possible. So we'll do one more round. So we'll exhale. Hold our breath, squat. Keep going until you feel a little desire to breathe in. And then you inhale. And so if you're someone who needs a little more movement to feel better, like if you got to basically shake it out a little bit before you perform, that's a great way to try it. And you're trying to get your breath back under your control in one cycle of inhale, exhale. It teaches you over time to be more in charge of your breath so that you're not letting it get away from you. The thing about the heart rate is that the heart rate is really hard to control consciously. Just thinking, slow your heart rate down. Some people in meditation get to a point where they think they can do that. But what's easier is your diaphragm, because your diaphragm has conscious, what's called somatic fibers in it. So it's easier to train your anxiety through breathing than anything. So that's number one technique, which is just called hypoxia, which means like low oxygen. So getting yourself into a mild hypoxia is very calming for your brain. Now, another thing to try, which I do every day, is a bag. So you may have seen in like movies and TV, they have stuff like this where people go when they're having a panic attack, right? So it doesn't only work when you're having a panic attack, it can just work in general. So it's called bag breathing. So how you do it, if you have a paper bag, it's ideal. And you go like this with the short end of the rectangle on top. If you have a plastic bag, you can just go ahead and try that, but just know that it's gonna get intense real fast in plastic, because paper lets a little air through and plastic does not. If you wanna try it, this is how you do it. You get it on like this, over your mouth and your nose. We're going to seal it with our hands, and then we're going to breathe in and out, this time through the nose, both in and out. It looks like this. And that's all. You just keep breathing like that. So the goal is 2 to 3 minutes of that. When I'm doing it, when I'm not on camera, I usually lean so my elbows are on my knees like this, because that feels comfortable for me. You can experiment with where your arms are the most comfortable, because we're going to do it for a good 2 to 3 minutes. And so we're doing that to build carbon dioxide, because you're recirculating air from the bag into your nose. And that has more carbon dioxide because you've been breathing into a bag. So that's containing the CO2. This is also great for opening up your sinuses. We're going to talk about that next week on the call, but just to give you a little preview, this also works for that as well. And so this is cool. If you don't mind using a bag, you can go ahead and do it. I have people do it in the bathroom before they go in for stuff. If this works for them, just go in the bathroom, just breathe into a bag for a couple minutes, and they will feel a lot better. So that's the 2 breathing things I would like you to try. I'm going to put in the chat a link to some recipes that I use if you want to try these. Let me put it into the chat here. So this comes from a class I did called Brain Calm, which is a longer look at this topic. And so what you can try is these drinks are stuff that will keep your blood sugar steady and and raise it a little bit. So I said at the beginning of the call, adrenaline and cortisol are trying to raise your blood sugar. That's how they're going to get you away from danger. And so to prevent them from dumping into your blood, if you have a little more sugar, salt, and a certain kind of protein in your bloodstream, you're less likely to have that reaction. So I'll have people try these drinks and just sip on one of them before they do something really stressful, if it works for them. And the way you'll know, again, is you just got to try it. You got to make these and just see if they make you feel better. So the basic idea of these is that they have a little bit of good kind of sugar, like honey or something like that. If you use dairy, milk has sugar in it. I do personally. Orange juice, stuff like that has fruit. Those things that have like good sugars for your body, and they have a little bit of salt in them, a lot of them, because salt also helps you lower adrenaline in your body. And then they use something called glycine. So there's a certain brand that I use for that. I just brought it here to show y'all. So this is what I use. It's called collagen hydrolysate. And why I like this is because most gelatin needs to be heated to be able to dissolve into liquid, but this kind doesn't. You can put it in a cold liquid and it will dissolve. So I'll put a link, I'll put an Amazon link to it in the chat here, if anyone wants to try it. So that is where I get mine from. And so it's called Great Lakes Gelatin Collagen Hydrolysate. So those recipes have them in it. Now that is not vegetarian. So if you're a vegetarian or vegan, you're not gonna be able to use this because it's made from animal products, but it contains this amino acid called glycine. So glycine is a particular amino acid that tends to lower the stress hormone. So it's something that you can try. Also, if you can't sleep, these are drinks that you can try as well before bed. If you feel like you're having trouble getting to bed, these are good things to play with. So I just want you to take a look at those. If you're interested in food, you can try those and see if they help at all. So now we're going to talk about some more brain stuff. So there are 4 cranial nerves in your head here. Cranial nerves come out of your brain. And they are nerves that are called parasympathetic, which means rest and digest. And so the 4 nerves that are these parasympathetic are 3, 7, 9, and 10. So if you want to be a brain nerd with me, you can go look those up after the call. But we're going to focus on one today, which is called cranial nerve 3. So I will do 2 actually, 3 and 10. So cranial nerve 3 first. So cranial nerve 3, it's called oculomotor nerve. It moves your eyeballs. So there's certain movements that it controls more than others. So we're going to try a couple eye drills here. And if you want to try this for yourself, here's how you will test it. So you'll just think about something that stresses you out, something that's causing a little bit of anxiety in your life right now. It might not be hard to think of something at this moment. And you just rate it on a number scale from 1 to 10, like how stressed out is it making you? And then we're going to do these eye exercises. So we're going to start with what's called a saccade, S-A-C-C-A-D-E. It goes side to side. So the way it works is this. You put your fingers out like this, and then you're going to shift your eyes from one finger to the other, like I'm doing right now. You're going to complete 10 switches either side. And once you've done 10, you can stop. And then just think about that thought again and see if there's any change in the stress level for you. See if it's any lower, rate it in a number. And then we're going to do a diagonal like this. You're going to take one finger up in a diagonal, like a 45 degree. You're going to do that angle on saccades. Again, 10 switches each finger. And with the 10, you can stop and re-rate the thought. See how stressed you're feeling now. I feel a little better after doing that angle. We're gonna try the other diagonal like this. So try that 10 switches. And once you've done 10, you can stop and re-rate it one more time. See how you're feeling now. And we did this on a previous call, but in case you missed that, there's also something called a pencil push-up. So if you have a pencil handy, great. If you can just use your finger, if not. So you put it out at arm's length like that. And then you bring the pencil tip towards your eyes. So watch my eyeballs for 1 second. And you're gonna see them cross into the center like that, and then they come back out. So try it. If you want to try it with your finger or a pencil, great. Just try to bring it in. Try to keep one pencil tip all the way in like that. We'll do it one more time. And then you can release, and then again, re-rate the thought you were thinking about. So these eye drills are things that you can do if you are, let's say you're standing in line and you start to feel that wash of anxiety coming up. You can just grab your finger and come in and out like that 3 times. That turns on cranial nerve 3, oculomotor, which calms you down, puts you into a parasympathetic state. It's why they think meditation works. If you know meditation, the third eye, how people look into the center of their forehead. Partly why we think that's calming for folks is that it engages cranial nerve 3. So you can do this stuff before you go in. And then when you're singing, even, you can move your eyes to a target and go, if I know like I do this diagonal and I feel good, I can look up that way in my song or look down that way a little bit. That might help me because it might be a good quadrant for me where my brain feels calmer doing that. So the last thing we're gonna get to in the call today is 2 other little parts of the brain. So one is called the cerebellum. So if you take your hand under the back of your head there for a second, it's right under there. It's tucked under the back of the skull. So the cerebellum does a lot of cool stuff, but it controls unwanted thoughts. And so it stops you from having bad thought loops in your brain. So a couple quick cerebellum tests you can do for yourself. If you take your fingers like this, you're gonna take your pointer finger and your thumb together like that as fast as you can. Try to move your thumb and your forefinger. And just see if you have a side that's slow or one hand that's working more. Like I can feel my left hand having to work a little bit more on that. And then you're gonna put your hand out like this. I'm gonna tilt the camera down for this. Put your hand out like that, and you're gonna take your other hand on top, and you're gonna tap 1, 2, back and forth like that. Just trying to go like that. See how that side goes. Other side out like this. And see if you have a side that's having more of a struggle doing that. So for me, it was a little harder on my left today. So I'm gonna then work out my left cerebellum. And how I do that is in circular movements. So when I'm training myself, when I'm physically training, I use circles a lot in my training motions because they engage my cerebellum. So a simple one you can do is this. If you take your hand, I'm gonna use my left hand because that was harder for me. So whichever hand is like harder to do on this stuff, you wanna use that hand for this drill. So put your hand out like this, take your pointer finger, middle, ring, pinky, and flex like that. And then turn it and do the same order like that. So we're going 1, 2, 3, 4, flex the wrist, flip it, 1, 2, 3, 4, extend the wrist, flip, flex, extend, flex, extend, like that. And we're just moving through that. And you can see my elbows kind of staying by my side there. Good, and you would shake that out. So that's a cerebellar drill for the cerebellum that stops unwanted thoughts. We have about a minute left, so I'm gonna quickly show you one more thing in cranial nerve 10. So that's called your vagus nerve, which controls your voice. So there's a part of your ear where the vagus nerve comes out to the skin. So what you're gonna do is take your finger like this, your fingernails facing the camera, you're gonna put it in your ear. So in your ear canal itself, and you're gonna push to the back wall of the ear canal, back towards the back of your head. And you're gonna make a little circle in that back part of the ear. And see how this feels for you. I can feel myself calming down doing this. And go the other way through the circle. And then try the other side. Stick your finger like this, and you put it in your ear canal itself, and you make a circle in the posterior canal. Other way. Good, and relax. So someone in the chat just mentioned, this reminds them of things for epilepsy, which is really interesting because the vagus nerve is one of the things they're studying in vagus stuff is electrical stimulation of the vagus to help with epilepsy and lots of other things too, lots of autoimmune diseases being researched, but also depression and anxiety. So the vagus is an anti-anxiety path in the body, and this is the way you can access it. So you can actually get in there and massage your vagus nerve because that's where it comes to your skin. So if you start to feel that spin, you can just grab your finger and go ahead and put it in there. Now, technically, the left side is supposed to be more parasympathetic. Having done this with a lot of real people, I can say that sometimes the right side is good to do too. You just need to test yourself. You'll know because you'll feel yourself, your heart rate calming down. You'll feel like yourself relaxing a little bit. So if that works for you, it's kind of a weird thing you can do. So you have an electric toothbrush. You can actually get a head for your toothbrush and put it in there. A vibration in the back of the ear is also really, really good. Or you can put it behind if you don't want to put your toothbrush in your ear. That's fine too. But you can go ahead and just do some of that self-massage in there. So to quickly review this call, this is what I would like you to be thinking about with your brain and anxiety. Breathing, we're building CO2. So what that means is we did the hypoxia, the blow it out and wait, the squats, or the bag breathing, right? Talked a little bit about sugar, salt, glycine. So I gave you some recipes for that if you want to try those. And then tracking your body temperature and pulse. So we're trying to see a pulse under 90, hopefully, body temperature, hopefully approaching 98.6. We talked a little bit about cranial nerves 3 and 10. So that's the shift the eyes and the come in like this, testing those with some thoughts that are stressing you out. We did cerebellum, which is this guy, right? And then we just did a little ear massage. So we did a lot in 20 minutes, but it was so nice to get to talk to you all today. Hopefully you're having a good one, and I will see you soon. Okay, bye.